Hello, and welcome to Lead, Learn, Connect, where we explore the worlds of training, coaching, and powerful leadership. I'm your host, Alan Krieger, and on this show we talk about not just the how of helping others grow, but the behind-the-scenes work of overcoming challenges and staying connected to what's really important. My guest today is Dennis Shats, a technical training specialist and consultant with experience in designing, expanding, and optimizing business and technical training programs that drive organizational growth. Dennis will share with us a recent transition and how he has learned to make lemonade out of lemons. Whether you're a new trainer, a seasoned facilitator, or just curious about what it takes to thrive in this world, this episode is for you. Welcome, Dennis.
Hello, Alan. Nice to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, and you've got an interesting story to tell. So let's start with that. You were one of the people, unfortunately, laid off in the recent government clearing, the federal government with the Dodge sweep, and I'm really impressed with what you've done with this lemon situation. You've turned some good lemonade. So talk a little bit about what that experience was like and where you've gone with that.
Sure. Well, it's been an interesting and grueling process, I can tell you that. It started about February because I was one of the probational federal employees. Before that, I worked as a contractor. And it started when we received an email stating that we are being separated from our government roles. And this has been going back and forth without going too much into detail. It was a shock, I'm not going to lie. It was a very, very complicated time. Some people took it better, some people took it worse, and it's still actually happening right now. But with me, it was a little bit different. I have been changing jobs before, so it's not like I've been on one job for 15 years and it's completely destructive to me. So after the initial shock of a couple of days, I would say, I decided to actually start making lemonades because I saw the lemons in front of me. And you could say, and this is where I noticed that a lot of people were in pain and they needed help. Since I've been in a private and a public sector before, that I have accumulated quite a bit of knowledge about how to go through the interviews, how to build my resumes, how to speak to the interviewers, and how to choose the jobs properly, negotiate different deals of whatever is being presented to you in an offer. And the thought just occurred to me one night, why don't I just go ahead and put it in something that people share with others, in other words. So what I decided to do is to create a LinkedIn group. Just happened, the thought again, like that popped up, where I called the Federal Job Support Network, which would help people get back on their feet. The problem is that a lot of federal employees, they could not get another federal job. And right now we're still under the moratorium, so it's frozen. It's very hard to get a federal position. And so they're going to be starting to look in the private sector. But federal resume, if you haven't been in there, it's quite different beast than a private resume, private sector resume. Just to give you an example, private sector resume can be like 2-3 pages. Federal resume could be 15 to 20 pages long because they're very, very verbose. And people just simply don't know how to translate their resumes to a private sector. So this was my kind of introduction. And the first thing, I recorded a little video where I introduced myself in a group, and I said what the group is for, why are we there. It's obviously completely free, and we're helping people out whichever way we can. And I decided to create a first course, which would show them step by step how to translate their resumes or create a private sector resumes if they've never had to do that before from scratch and put it up in there. I posted it piece by piece as I was doing it so people can kind of work with it and do their homework and get ready for the next piece by the time it comes out in the sections of the resume. And then I put out the whole thing as well. And I also shared them on my YouTube channel, DS Academy. So people will be able to reference it at any later point. It's been actually a success, which is a bittersweet news, to be honest with you, because more people come into the group means more people are hurting and they need help. So I don't see it particularly like, oh my God, it's so great. There's so many people. I'm trying to see how can I help them. Right now, there's more coming again, but we are currently, as we're standing, we're over 1,300 members already inside of
Wow,
that group from all walks
1,300.
of life.
Yeah.
Yes, all walks of life. I mean, I've seen nonprofits, I've seen government branches. I even have contractors in there as well, because when the contracts were cut, a lot of these people were on the street as well.
Hmm.
And they started coming to me and say, hey, I know you're for federal employees only, but can we please sneak in? I was like, absolutely. Yeah, I'm for everyone. And yes, so I labeled it for Federal Job Support Network Group, but anyone who we can help, we can help.
So what else goes on in the group? You've got your course up and resources. What else? Are there
Mhm.
conversations? Are there subgroups?
Yes.
Or
Actually, interesting things started happening because people started picking up the initiative, and we formed so-called unspoken panel of people that are helping me out as well. And for example, there's one lady, she always posts the new positions when they come out in a private sector, and when as soon as she sees it. There is another gentleman who posts tips on how to go through interviews in a private sector specific to the specific areas. Sorry. And there is another one, and the lady I've been working with closely, she is a legal professional and a federal legal professional, and I have participated with them on their workshops. We talked about AI, artificial intelligence. We'll mention that a little bit later, and are talking how that can help out. And so she's catering specifically lawyers or legal professional, federal professionals. They're happening.
okay, so you've
So
got a group of people working with you, and
yes.
this podcast is about the training world. So let's go back for a minute. As a trainer, how has your training experience, skills, how has that helped you move into what is kind of a very different role?
Yes, absolutely. The first thing that I did is I thought of what do I know and what can I share with others to help them get back on a horse, per se. And since I collected quite a bit of information regarding the job search, this is the primary purpose. However, what I did notice is right now artificial intelligence has taken the forefront of pretty much everything. And I've noticed how people are starting to use artificial intelligence in their job searches as well. Applying for a lot of positions can be very time consuming, and it's not an easy process because every one of the sites may be different. You need to set up an account and do all this kind of stuff. So what I started doing is I started implementing my AI knowledge and delivering it from a perspective of how can it help them get there faster or get their dream job faster from that perspective, right? And for example, AI can or ChatGPT can help you rewrite your resume and organize it much better. That's one of the ways. There are even whole tools out there which can automatically apply for the jobs for you. I don't particularly like that approach because then you end up applying for 200 jobs that you didn't even know you applied to. And you hear from people like, you're like, who, what? No, this is not the best way of doing it. But AI can definitely help you on your way and streamline the process, and that's what I'm going over and starting to sprinkle into the things that I do and I share with others.
Okay, so sharing information is what trainers do, and so that kind of gave you a great perspective to start sharing that with others. And again, you're a technical trainer. You know more than I understand about the world of technical, but you mentioned to me earlier that you've developed a wiki. And talk a little
Hmm.
bit about what a wiki is, what your wiki
Hmm.
is, and why someone might want to put something like that together.
I am the type of person that like to learn almost everything about everything before I start talking about that stuff. I guess it's my little obsessive compulsive disorder thing. But I can tell you that wikis were something that I worked for many years and studied them and used them in different platforms. For example, SharePoint was one of them. And it is essentially, it can be used in many different forms. But what we're using here is like a knowledge base. It contains articles within itself on different topics. But most importantly, it's like an online encyclopedia. Think of it that way. People can get in there, search the wiki library for a specific topic, and then it pops up for them and they learn it and they move on with their life so they can quickly reference a lot of information. So one of the things we've been trying to do is we've been trying to set up wiki in Reddit. We're opening up a Reddit channel right now, my team and I, but it is still limited. So we're looking for other possibilities where we can expand and do even more powerful version of a wiki. And what we're planning to put in there are different things. Anything from a perspective of how do I build my resume and how do I translate my skills. You may have a question on that later on because this is one of the most asked questions by people. How do I translate my skills in the federal government into the private sector? They have no clue and they need really a lot of help on this. So this can be laid out inside of the wiki articles, or what do we call a KBA, knowledge base article, and put it out there. Another one are AI prompts, which is very, very hot topic. Whenever you ask the AI like ChatGPT or Gemini or to do something, you type in the question, that is called a prompt. And that is needs to be, there's a whole art to it. My wife says that because she's an AI developer. And she says, you really need to learn to ask exactly properly what you want. Otherwise, you're going to get a roll of a dice type of stuff out there. And so it's very specific about what it gives you. So these prompts go in a knowledge base articles to define specific topics. Hey, I need you to help me write the summary section of my resume. So how should this prompt look like? So ChatGPT, for example, knows exactly how to write it, what to take in. Like, for example, I'm uploading my resume. Look at what I have there. Now take that, rewrite that, and make it much better. And writing that prompt properly so it does exactly what you want it to do, not leaving out any details, is something that I would be putting in the keys.
Okay, so the wiki, like Wikipedia, is just a collection of articles. You're writing each of the articles, putting it in there, or you and your team, and then people can reference it. Okay,
Yes.
that was very helpful. I've been on Wikipedia, but didn't really understand exactly that.
People also suggest it is a very communicative type of style because they'll come back say, hey, can you please write an article about this and this because we're missing it, and we'll say we have a list, we'll put it up on the list and we'll start writing up the articles when we get to it.
Okay, so
Rose.
talk a little bit what you mentioned earlier, the difference of applying for a job in the federal government versus applying in the private sector. You talked about the resume needing to be short and concise. What are other challenges that people who've been, in government service, you've been in private sector and government, but people who've been in the government service their whole career, what are the shocks and challenges of moving into the corporate world?
I would say that unfortunately, not in a bad sense, but the word ignorance here is the biggest stumbling block because people have been working within their silos for so long, they do not know exactly how it works in other environment. Let me give you one particular example. I had a lady come up to me and she asked me, can you please take a look at my resume? I have this list of skills, but I have no idea how they're actually called in the private sectors because I'm trying to apply for a job and I have no idea what to do. And I said, well, let's take a look at it. And ChatGPT was able to help out with it quite a bit. We put it together a prompt that said, here's a list of skills this lady has. And can you please translate it to the private sector and what would be the closest skills in the private sector? It goes even level up. Sometimes people don't even know which jobs they should apply for because they don't know what's actually referenced where. Let's say, for example, they've been approving in my office, they've been approving for applications for grants. Where do they go in the private sector to be able to do that? And would work together and say, okay, so this is what you've done. This is what we have on the other end. For example, people applying for grants, you can help them out with that and specify from that perspective. So I would say it's like one big issue which stems in many, many different branches from that. But mostly people are confused about where they should go, what should they do, and how should they translate their skills so it's properly and applicable and they can apply for it so they don't get discarded right away.
Okay. Yeah, I've done work in government service, and it really is a whole different culture, a whole different set of rules and norms, and if you've been in it your whole life, it becomes all you know. So that's great. That's a really wonderful service you're providing to really help people who are breaking out into a whole new area. So something else you said earlier when I asked you about the wiki, you don't like to say anything until you've thoroughly researched it. And you took my team communication style assessment and scored very high in the A, which is the analytical, thoughtful, take my time, think it through. You also scored high in the M, which is the mediator, which is a more social trait, and so you're one of those more rare technical people that likes people and can communicate. But both of those styles are deliberative, very thoughtful, slow, careful. You've got a lot going on, a lot of balls in the air. How do you keep yourself moving forward? You scored lower in the fast-paced, get it done styles. So what do you do to kind of keep yourself? You've got this committee, you've got all these 1,300 people, you've got all these ideas, and yet you're getting stuff done. So how do you kind of keep moving forward?
Actually, that was a question when I started the whole process, and I started to notice just simply how much work it started to generate for me. And, well, my wife and I will laugh about it sometimes, saying that I'm busier than I was at work before doing this stuff. And one of the things that came up to me is the book that was suggested to me by someone. It's called The One Thing. And the book essentially says that you need to identify what is your primary priority, or 20%, it's 80-20 rule, what they call it, 20% of your efforts which produce 80% of results. And what's the most important? And a lot of times it's not something we want to focus on because it's something hard or something going outside of our circle of confidence, and we have to consistently stay out there, and do that kind of stuff. So what I started doing is prioritizing what's the most important thing that I can do right now to grow the community, to engage with people, to make sure that they get what they need to be able to move on. And I developed the time schedule within my days where I work out on specific time frames when I work, for example, on my courses, online video courses that I build. That takes the primary, everything else works around it. And then in order of priority, I knock out the rest of the things. Another thing is that's part of analytical is we tend to have expectations of how much we're going to cover in one particular day. And when these expectations do not match the reality, we tend to get upset sometimes. And that is a big problem. And I had to grow tough skin on that, and learn that, look, I mean, as long as you've done the majority of stuff that you needed to do for that day, it's okay. I mean, if kids came to you and said they need some help and you had to step away, do other things, it happens. Life happens, and as long as you're moving down the right direction by doing the most important things first, that's what that matters the most.
Okay, good. So it sounds a good way to kind of organize yourself and prioritize and keep moving, and still being thorough and careful and the other parts that you value. So,
Yes.
okay. And you mentioned the book you read. You've also written a book.
Yes.
How has what's been the effect of that on your career? It's something a lot of trainers think about, or some of them do, is write books. So talk a little bit about your book and how has that been for you?
This is a very interesting stage of my life. I used to work for the same government branch, but as a contractor before when that actually happened. And I noticed how a lot of offices, they don't have departments, they have offices and bureaus. How offices and bureaus have all of these SMEs, or subject matter experts, people who've been at this job for very long and they know a lot, and they accumulated a lot of knowledge and experience, but they have no clue how to share that knowledge and experience with others. And I can help them, but not always, because just in our organization, we had more than 2,500 people. And to create courses for everything and everyone would simply be not possible. So the thought has occurred to me, why don't I write the book to teach them step by step how to build a training project and lead it from the very beginning and conception, when someone comes to them and say, hey, can you teach on this and this application that you have developed? It's a technical stuff that we've been doing. And they're like, okay, well, I don't even know where to start. Let me open up a PowerPoint. No, it's not starting with opening up a PowerPoint. It's starting with meeting with the client, understanding what they're asking for, and writing down their requirements. Then based on that, you build an outline. Then you communicate outline, make sure everyone's on the same page. I'm going really, really high level top right now. Then after that, you go ahead and you develop the prototype of what you're going to be teaching. Show that to them, involve them in every step of the process. And then after that, and if everything's agreed, then you deliver the training and you do the follow-up after the training. But people who have not worked in this field, they do not know this information. It's very foreign to them. That's why I wrote this book, so it can guide them through and hold their hand through the process. It's been a very interesting turn when I did and I wrote this because I thought my first surprise was I thought people were going to download Kindle version of the book because I self-published it on Amazon. But no, actually, people were buying paper versions of the book more so. They like to have it on their table. I asked them why and said, no, I like to have it on my table and reference it. And during the day when I'm working on different things, how I know what to do and stuff like that. And then I work from there. Right now, I'm getting to the point where I'll need to do a second edition of that book because some of the things have changed. It's been a little while back since I released it, but this book has been invaluable to so many different branches of a government. I did it with them. And I was not really peddling the book to them, but I say, hey, if you're interested and you don't have any trainers on staff, take a look. This may help you out.
Okay, so you've gotten good feedback. People are using it, finding it valuable, yes. and getting some good activity around it. That's great. All right, so maybe you have a second edition coming out. You've got your group that you're developing. Kind of what's looking forward to you? What's coming up that's exciting and
Sure.
and new?
On my site. So what's in the immediate future? Right now, I'm working on the next video course, online video course, and this course specifically focuses on how to revamp your LinkedIn profile, so you don't have to apply for the jobs and not being responded to. That's one of the biggest concerns, believe it or not. The job market is completely overflowing right now,
Yep.
especially in the local metropolitan area, Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. But how to make your profile on LinkedIn so enticing so recruiters come to you. You see, the interesting thing is that the very sought after jobs, or especially high level jobs, I work with a lot of high level people like GS15's senior executive service and stuff. Their jobs do not get advertised often. So, for example, when a job in the private sector of that level, director level, comes out, people come up. Company goes to the recruiters and quietly asks them to go and look for someone. And they look, find the people, and then they get in touch with them. Hey, we have this opportunity. Would you be interested? But they find you from your profile. And if you don't fill it out, that just doesn't happen. The resumes, unfortunately, are starting to take a backseat. And these profiles are much more encompassing because they don't have to read they read the whole resume before. They don't have to do that. They read the profile only selectively what they need, or they search by the specific keywords, and then your name pops up to them on the top of the search results. Recruiters have their own platform on the back of LinkedIn. And then they start getting in touch with you without even posting a job. And that's how most of the best jobs people got through this. And that's what the course is teaching them. How to build the irresistible profile so you get popped up in every search as much as possible. Then after that, I'm going to focus on how to use AI for the specific industries to help them. For example, in the sales, doctors use a lot AI for their things that taking notes, for example, when they see their patients. Legal uses that a lot whenever during their meetings, and how to use AI for their job to improve their productivity. So each one of those courses will focus on their specific area, and people will come and take those courses respectively to improve it. You'll be surprised, but a lot of nowadays jobs postings that I see come out, they actually specifically ask, do you know AI and can you work with AI? They're actually asking that directly. And if you don't, well, you start going down the hill from there. So I'm keeping people on the top.
Yep. Yeah, I'm hearing that all the time when people talk to me about how do you use AI in your business, and it's all over. So you've got amazing things. You've got quite a lemonade stand going here. You've got lots of resources for people, building your group, moving in a new direction. It's been great. Well, thanks, Dennis. We're out of time, but it's been a great conversation. So that's it for today's episode of Lead, Learn, and Connect. A huge thank you to Dennis Shats for sharing some great insights, expertise, and an interesting story. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and leave a review. You can find out more about Dennis and how to get in touch in the show notes. And if you're ready to strengthen how you teach or coach communication, click the link to our website and learn more about the TEAM model of communication, and follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep leading with intention, keep learning, and keep connecting. Thanks for listening.